Hi friends, welcome back to Brilliant Blue Reviews. My name is Heather, and in this video I'm going to be giving you kind of a review of the theatrical release of Hamilton, the film version of Hamilton, which is actually the original Broadway cast production of Hamilton that they made into a movie by filming it over several shows on June 26 through 28, 2016. This is being released in theaters right now in September of 2025 for the 10th anniversary of Hamilton. Hamilton, T-E-N. So that's what it's for. The world premiere of Hamilton, the production, the show, was in 2015. It started at the Rogers Theater in Broadway sometime after that, and this was filmed at the Rogers Theater on Broadway in New York City, again at the end of June 2016. So the show actually was first performed in its entirety in 2015, and that's why this is the 10th anniversary of the production. Now, at the beginning of the film, which it was done just like a movie, I saw it in the movie theater just now. I went to it by myself. I'm sure my daughter would have loved to go to this with me, but she was working tonight and she's in a different state right now. So there's a whole thing at the beginning with a bunch of the people from the original production, Lin-Manuel Miranda, several of the other actors that are in the production, some of the company, some of the people on the production side of things, and they're kind of doing like a little interview talky thing that was about maybe 10 to 15 minutes long. The other thing I want to tell you about this was my showtime was 4:20. There were previews, and I didn't really pay attention, maybe 5 to 10 minutes of previews, trailers. And then there was this talking part to celebrate the 10th anniversary. And so the actual show started at 4:40, so about 20 minutes in. There was an intermission, an actual intermission in the movie, just like there would have been in the theater, when you see it live, between Act 1 and Act 2. So there was a 10-minute intermission, and they put up the big word intermission and an hourglass and showed you a 10-minute countdown. So that was actually kind of nice. I was actually really thankful that they put that in there. They used to do that more. Like, I remember when I first saw Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, I think there was an intermission in it. But once in a while, back in the day when there was a really long movie, they would give you an intermission. So there was an intermission in this. I did get up and go to the bathroom and throw away my trash and got the opportunity to kind of walk around because I have a bad disc in my spine and it's hard for me to sit that long. And so it was nice for me to be able to get up and walk around. Not everybody in the theater. I think there were about 11 of us in the theater, in the movie theater, watching this at this particular showing. And I would say about 5 or 6 of us, so maybe about half of us, got up and walked around or did something, and everybody else stayed in their seats through the whole intermission, was on their phone, stuff like that. So it's good to know that there is an intermission built into it, so that just like if you saw it live in the theater, if you've done that, or even if you haven't, to know that you are going to get a break and it's not really going to be 3 hours. And it ended at 7:20. That was the end of the final credits. I was the only person in my showing that stayed for the whole thing and stayed through all of the credits at the end. Whenever I make these videos for you guys, I always want to make sure I get as much information as possible from the ending credits. So that's why I stay all the way through the end all the time. Everybody else got up and left as soon as the show ended, and nobody stayed for the credits except me. So all in all, with trailers, the little thing that they put on the beginning, the intermission, and the length of the actual show, you should expect this to be a total experience time of 3 hours. If your movie theater for some reason doesn't put trailers or previews on it, or maybe puts fewer or something, it could be a little bit shorter than that. That's what you can expect from seeing this theatrical release in the theater. Okay, before I compare the live production of Hamilton with the recorded film version that is in theaters, which, by the way, I think this is actually the exact same thing that they also have been showing on Disney Plus for quite a while. I never watched it on Disney Plus, And I don't know that anybody in my family has either. So I don't know anything about what it's like to watch it on Disney Plus. They say in the little talky part at the beginning with the cast and crew, when they filmed it for the film version, they meant it to be on the big screen in a movie theater. They weren't filming it to be for streaming or for TV. Disney obviously just decided to do that on their own. They wanted you to have it where you're in a theater with other people in the dark, just like you would be at a live performance. So that was their intention when they filmed it in June of 2016, was to make it so that more people would have access to it, I imagine, by being able to see it in theaters. And maybe they were even planning to release it on the 10th anniversary. I don't know. Because, I mean, that's pretty forward thinking of them. I don't think they even knew how popular it was going to be, only a year after it first was performed in New York City. So I'm not sure what the motivation was for filming it at the time when it had only been out a year. If you have seen it on Disney Plus, tell me what it's like on Disney Plus. Is it literally just the show? Is there any kind of commentary or anything, interviews or anything that goes along with it? Because I don't know. Let me tell you a little bit about my family's background with seeing the live production. Okay, so the actual Broadway production. I've only seen it once. I saw it at the Orpheum Theater in Minneapolis, the touring Broadway production. None of us in my family has seen it on Broadway. We had a very difficult time when it first was touring, getting tickets. It was very difficult and very expensive to get tickets. I got tickets originally for us to see it in Chicago, and it was in summer. I don't remember what year. I want to say 2018, maybe I don't know. And then we didn't go. I can't remember what happened. And I ended up selling my tickets in Chicago. And then that next fall, I got us tickets for Minneapolis. And I actually managed to get 4 tickets, which was very difficult to do, for me and my 3 kids. But then when we ended up going, only my older son, Andrew, and my daughter, Megan, and I went. And my son, Ben, did not go. And then the 3 of us went, and she kind of said, I think Ben might be too young and he won't necessarily get it or be able to follow it, which I think was probably a good decision. Ben's not a huge fan of musicals, so I kind of wanted him to go with me tonight to the theatrical version, but he didn't want to. So, and then my daughter saw it again with a friend from college and his parents a year or 2 ago. I will say I have a little bit of bias for the cast that I saw in the live touring Broadway production. I felt that the cast that we had, which obviously was not these actors, was excellent. I thought they were very, very good. And it was actually a little bit weird for me now to see the original Broadway cast with Lin-Manuel Miranda and everybody playing the roles, because I had in my head the people that I saw, the cast that I saw in the touring production. Okay, but in the end, it was fine. But just be aware of that. Like if you see it more than once, or if you saw it live and it wasn't on Broadway, I mean, even the actors that are on Broadway now, some of the company is still the same. But obviously, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Leslie Odom Jr. and Jonathan Groff and, Philippa Sue and everybody, they're not still doing it. They came back recently to do it for one show or a few shows for the 10th anniversary on Broadway. But for the most part, you're going to be seeing different actors when you go to see it. When I saw the live production, the touring Broadway production, back whenever that was, a few years ago. Gosh, it could be 5-6 years ago now. I don't know. I don't remember. It's got to be more than that. It has to be more than 5 or 6 years ago because we saw it before the pandemic. So we saw it probably, it had to be 2017, 2018, maybe 2019. That's when we would have seen it. And it was fall. I remember that. When I saw it originally, I was very struck. The things that really stood out to me were the production quality, the production stuff, the set, the lighting, the effects, if you will, the way the stage rotates and spins, the live orchestra, the power and the sound of the music, the rap. And the thing that really blew me away was the amazing choreography of the company and the dancers. I just thought that was such a powerful aspect of this production. This show is freaking genius, okay? Lin-Manuel Miranda has to be a complete genius, honestly. I mean, the stuff that he does, but it was just so impressive visually. There's some other shows that I've been to live touring Broadway productions, and I've been to Broadway too. I've seen a bunch of shows on Broadway. I've seen a bunch of shows on the West End in London. I've seen some really phenomenal shows. I saw, I'm thinking of like Cats on Broadway way back in the day was the first Broadway show I ever went to. Things I've seen in London with, really famous actors and stuff. I saw Diana Rigg in Medea in London, and I went to Hair, and, all sorts of stuff that I've seen live productions of. Les Miserables blows me away. I saw, there's some really, really good shows. I've seen some really phenomenal, amazing Broadway or West End shows and touring Broadway productions too. But this one it's one of the best. It's one of the best shows I've ever been to. It's really, really well done. So the music, the rapping, the choreography of the dancers, it pulses. It's so good. I can see why people get so into the album of it and everything, because it's really good. There's 2 places in this show, both when I saw it live and when I saw it just now as a film, that I cried, that I start to tear up and tears are actually running down my face. It's not when Hamilton's son Philip dies. Sorry for the spoiler, but this isn't news. This isn't a spoiler. It's history. So, okay, it's not when he dies. It's when Eliza forgives Alexander. The one about It's Quiet Uptown, that song. And when she takes his hand and she forgives him. That makes me cry. And then at the very end of the show, when they're talking about who's going to tell Eliza's story, I was standing in the theater. It was a standing ovation, and I was standing in the theater between my son and my daughter, and I was weeping. And I turned to my daughter, and I remember I said, "It's about her. It's about her." And I just was so blown away that this really wasn't about Alexander Hamilton. I mean, it is, but that's the cool thing that Lin-Manuel Miranda did, is he made it about her. It's about Eliza, Elizabeth Schuyler Hamilton, his wife. And so that just was so powerful and moving to me when I saw the live production. So those are the things that stuck with me about the live production. Okay, let's talk about this theatrical release that I just saw. All right, the first thing I have to tell you is the people in the theater were so freaking annoying. All right, so right away when I was sitting by myself, and there was an empty seat, and then there was a couple next to me on my right, and then there were 3 people behind me, and then up in front of me a couple rows, there were these 3 teenage girls. And I could tell even before it started that these girls were going to be a problem. And then there were some more people in front of them. And I kind of wonder if the people in front of them got even more annoyed than me. Like, literally, this was I wanted to throw popcorn at them situation. I really, really was tempted to go say something to them. And they came out during intermission too, and I almost said something to them, but that's retired teacher me speaking, and I decided to let it go. Some of the parts, it was loud enough that I couldn't hear them, but it was pretty freaking annoying. They literally said every line, they sang every song, they recited along the entire thing. Now, they were doing it relatively quietly for most of the time, but they were also like laughing and giggling and stuff, and so it was annoying. It was distracting. And then halfway through, which I don't know what was the deal, halfway through the movie, the woman on my right, in my same row, started singing all the songs. She was doing it really quietly, but she was singing along. And I'm like, did she not know the songs in the first half? I don't know. It was just so odd because she was completely silent for the entire first half. And then like the second half, she was singing along to everything. And I'm like, why are you doing this now? So like, it was very annoying. Okay, here is my message to these people and everybody else like them. Unless it is marketed and advertised as a sing-along version of a Broadway show or a movie, like Wicked recently, there are sing-along versions. They come with captions and like the little bouncing ball so that you can sing along. Those are intended for you to be singing along. I purposely avoid these versions because I don't want to do that. I want to hear the actual actors that were hired to fill these roles and their phenomenal voices. I don't want to hear you, okay? I didn't pay money to hear this woman next to me and these 3 teenage girls sing all the songs in Hamilton. That's so rude and inappropriate. Don't do that. I mean, I sure as heck hope that people aren't singing out the songs along with the cast at live productions of Hamilton, are they? Or any other production? Good grief. These are paid professionals. You're ruining the show when you do that. I feel very strongly about this. People pay hundreds of dollars to go to these shows. They didn't come there to hear you, okay? Be quiet. I mean, granted, I didn't pay hundreds. I paid $8 to see this movie, but still, I paid money to hear it and see it, and I don't want to hear people in the audience singing. So please be quiet, okay? If you want to sing it, you sing it at home, or you go to a sing-along version and you sing there. All right, let me talk about the movie version, which is basically me talking about the original cast version. So good, really phenomenal. The standouts to me, Jonathan Groff as King George, amazing. He's so perfect in that role. The King George that we saw, though, in the live production was really good, too, and I don't know who that actor was. But anyway, Leslie Odom Jr. as Burr is so good, and his songs are so good. Wait for it is so good. Daveed Diggs, I hope I'm saying his name right. He plays both Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson. He's a hoot. I love him. He does those roles so well. He's so good in those. He was probably my favorite, honestly. And then the other one that stands out to me, she was a freaking revelation, is Philippa Sue as Eliza Hamilton. Now, I didn't realize it when I first started watching Dr. Odyssey, the TV show that was only on for 1 season. I watched the whole season and then it got canceled. I liked her in that. I didn't make the connection right away. I didn't realize right away that this was Philippa Sue who played Eliza Hamilton in the original Broadway production of Hamilton. She was good in Dr. Odyssey, but this is the role of a lifetime. I mean, anything she does after this, I mean, unless she does some amazing, like, Oscar-worthy performance in some movie or something, is going to pale in comparison to her role as Eliza Hamilton in Hamilton. Some of the songs, I would say, got me even more in the movie than they did when I saw the live show, because I guess I was just a little bit more focused. I was paying a little bit more attention. I kind of knew what was happening, and so I wasn't concentrating so much on the trying to understand the story, and I was able to just enjoy the songs. So that was kind of nice. All right, these are the things that I would say are the pros and cons to seeing it as a film versus seeing it as a live production. There's a lot of cons. I definitely prefer seeing it as a live production, and this is why. Number one, you just don't get the same sense of being sitting in a live audience in a theater. That's a very unique, specific experience that I think it's designed for, obviously, and you lose that by seeing it in a movie theater. Secondly, you don't get the power of the music. The music is not as loud. I mean, it might depend on the sound system of the theater that you're in, but you're just not getting the same volume, and you're missing a lot with the music. You're not getting the live orchestra by seeing it in the movie theater. I mean, obviously they're there and they're performing, but you can't hear it the same. And then the other thing that I felt was really lost in the movie version and the film version is the incredible, stunning choreography of the ensemble, of the company. The dancing and the singing and all of the movement of the choreography is like one of the best parts of the show, in my opinion. And you also don't even get like the full effect of the lighting and the set changes and the movement of the set and stuff. And so that is a big loss, I think, in the film version. There is one big pro to seeing it as a film instead of as a live production. And that is because they use multiple cameras, and also they filmed this over multiple shows. So they were able to like choose the best clips, the best angles, and edit it together smoothly. Is that they're able to switch the angle, you know, up high, down low, left, right, close up, you know, and they're able to get like right in actors' faces, and you get to see things that you would never be able to see sitting in the audience in a theater, because you can't change where you're sitting in the theater during the show. You've only got one view, one vantage point. And so that was a real benefit of being able to see it as a film like this, is that, you know, you get all the different viewpoints, and especially the close-ups of the actors' faces during really key moments. And I guess especially it was like Burr and Eliza and King George are the ones that really struck me. And a little bit Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hamilton too, where they would zoom in on their face during really important moments of songs especially. So that was a real advantage of seeing it as a movie. And I mean, they get really close. You could see the sweat on the actors' faces. You could see at one point where Leslie Odom Jr. as Burr, his nose was actually running. When King George in his first song, You'll Be Back, Jonathan Groff is singing that, he is spitting like you would not believe. That's actually a sign of a good actor. We actually have been to shows where we've gotten spit on because we were sitting so close to the front. If you ever watched that episode of Friends where Gary Oldman is in it and he's making a movie with Joey, it's right before Chandler and Monica get married. He spits on Joey because he's talking about, as a great actor, you enunciate, and when you enunciate, you spit. Okay? I am a trained actor. Okay? I've been in a lot of theatrical productions, and I enunciate, and I do sometimes spit. So you can see Jonathan Groff spitting when they zoom in on him as King George, and like actual like spit is coming out of his mouth. So you can see details like that you wouldn't be able to see in the live theatrical production if you saw it on Broadway or touring Broadway or whatever. So that was a real advantage to seeing it as a film, was their ability to zoom in closely. So overall, I would highly recommend it, especially if you have never seen it as a Broadway production and you want to see it more like a show and not just watch it on TV, because it really is going to lose it on TV. You're really not going to get the full impact of it. I would recommend going to it in the theater. So, you know, if you were too young or you never could afford it, or it didn't come out in the touring production didn't come near you, you've never been to New York City, whatever, and you want to see it like it is on the stage, this would be your next best chance. And it's obviously a lot cheaper. I would recommend going to see it if you want to see it. Go ahead and see the film version. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was helpful or interesting to you. If it was, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of my upcoming movie or live theater reviews. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.